What's up, Eagles Nation, and welcome to week 4 of this season's NFL season. Of course, we are coming off a pretty bitter defeat in Dallas on national TV. Yep, that was that was fun. That was no, and I know the last bit I did. It was during the third quarter of the game, and things looked bad enough in the first half, and then the second half happened, and it kept getting progressively worse. No, that was definitely a difficult one. Listen, football is the one sport is that we all know is the most insta reactionatory sport that you're going to have because it's only one game a week, and you basically, for the most part, have a week after the game's played to digest and try to figure out what went right or wrong. In this case, really wrong in the game, and where the majority of the blame should be lied, and where things need to be corrected. And listen, I mean, after a game like that, I mean, listen, it's across the board. It was a horrible performance, and I will continue to say that I'm gonna try to be patient. And it's not look, as we know, our fan base is not easily to be patient, but I would like to try to be patient through the season and see what we have in Nick Sirianni and see what we have in Jalen Hurts, who's still a young quarterback. Now he does have flaws. The arm strength issue, that's a flaw, and in some ways that's a major flaw. That interception that he threw on their first possession of the game was a horribly underthrown ball, which if he had more touch on that pass, if he had more, oomph on that pass, that's a touchdown because Rieger was behind his defender, and he just underthrew the ball and it got picked. Listen, those are throws that you have to make in the NFL, and I'm not listen. I'm not trying to bash Jalen. I still think he can be a talented quarterback in this league. I think he's still pretty raw at being an NFL quarterback. I think some of the things that he excelled at in college, you can excel out. You can excel at in college, and plus the fact he was playing on just one of the all-time great programs in Alabama, and then he goes to Oklahoma. And listen, to his credit, he did really well in Oklahoma too. It's why he was drafted in the NFL. Um, but he was also drafted in the second round in the NFL for a league that is very quarterback starved, right? Everyone's looking for that next, great quarterback. And the fact that he went in the second round instead of the first round, well, one of the big reasons for that, one of the main reasons for that is because of the arm strength issues, because of the reading issue, right? He's basically one read and he's running, right? They're starting to call him one read, Jalen. Listen, some of that might be unfair. I think there are things that are correctable. The arm strength issue probably is not. But the fact that he can read the field a little better, I think that's something that can be correctable. The accuracy on the passing, I think, is something that can be correctable. I love the fact that he does have that athleticism and he can get out of danger and run around a little bit and make some plays. But now you're going to have defenses basically keying in on that, right? If you're going to, do the old, Mike Vick defense with him, have the spy, right? Or, you know, what have you. And look, all defenses do that, run their own programs, run their own schemes, and but listen, I mean, this right now is a very defendable team if they continue to do the things that they did last week in Dallas, more so, and also the week before it against the 49ers. Listen, against the 49ers, they were playing a really good defense. Even without some of their better, playmaking players in the secondary, they still were very ferocious up front, and they won those up front battles. The Niners defense won those up front battles, which is what contributed to the Eagles' problems. Part of it was play calling, but also part of it was the Niners defense being that disruptive. What I saw last week against Dallas, listen, Dallas, I will give them credit. They do have a good defense. I think a better defense than certainly they had in more recent years. Micah Parsons is going to be is a difference maker. Um, Again, I know they're Eagle fans. They're like, oh, we should have drafted him instead of Devontae Smith and everything. Well, listen, again, this falls back on Howie. if the Eagles would have, and I don't want to make this whole video about Howie and would you have drafted Micah Parsons? But the problem is, if Howie would have just drafted DK Metcalf or Justin Jefferson the last 2 years instead of Arcega-Whiteside and Rieger, maybe they're not drafting Devontae Smith this year. Maybe they do go after Micah Parsons, even though this franchise forever, it seems, has devalued the linebacker defense really in the first round. They're not going after these big guys, right? Well, Micah Parsons is a difference maker. And I know there were some off the field questions and whatever, personality, this, that, the other thing. Listen, there's been a lot of guys that have had those type of stuff, and they're in the Hall of Fame right now. So I don't always, go by that. I look at it. Look, if you can play, you can play. And look, I've watched Penn State games over the years, being here in living in PA. And I knew he was a good player. But the fact is, listen, they needed a playmaking wide receiver. And the reason for that is because they didn't draft one the last few years when they had opportunities to do so. Now, listen, is DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson with the Eagles the way they are with Seattle and Minnesota? I don't know. They definitely have different offensive play callers on those teams. They have better quarterbacks on those teams. Who knows? Would Carson Wentz have been able to do the things with them that Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins is able to do with them? Could Jalen Hurts do that with them, right? You talk about those guys that are explosive type receivers. Certainly DK Metcalf, go down the field, go up, jump ball, make a play. Well, if you don't have a quarterback that's going to get him the ball downfield, I don't know. So at the end of the day, who really knows, right? It's all this second guessing, and you can do that in sports as a whole, but you can certainly do that in the NFL. But that's the reason they drafted Devontae. And I still think that Smith is going to pan out. I really do. I think he's the type of guy, whatever has to be worked on, he's going to work on. His work ethic is through the roof, and he's a really good receiver. I think he does have some flaws that I'm seeing right now. The fact that, when it's basically him and a corner or a safety going up for the ball, he's not winning a lot of those battles. Again, you can get better at that. You can get more seasoned at that. People saying undersized. I've seen many an undersized wide receiver have great careers. I just think there's certain things that he needs to improve on his game. I believe he will, and I think going forward you're going to see why they drafted him where they did. Now, listen, again, it's just 3 weeks into a season. It's tough sometimes to assess these things, particularly with young players through 3 weeks. But again, as we fall back to the Dallas game, we fall back to the what I was starting to get into with their defense. Yeah, their defense made a lot of plays, and they have an athletic defense. At some point, that can be worked as a detriment to them too, because if you do have an overly aggressive defense, well, those receivers can get behind the corners and things can happen. And again, Rieger, that play was there for a touchdown and the ball was underthrown, right? Yeah, it's tough. And you go through these, certainly last week, but the week before too, and the things that they could have done and they didn't do. And oh my God, what do we have here in Sirianni? What type of head coach do we really have here? Harry High School with the T-shirts and the, this and that. Listen, I mean, going to the T-shirt thing, was I really pro that? Yeah, but again, if they won that game, everyone's wearing that T-shirt today. All Eagle fans are wearing that T-shirt today, right? They can't keep those T-shirts in stock. If the reverse was flipped and the Eagles blew out Dallas on Monday Night Football, all Eagle fans are wearing Beat Dallas shirts today, right? So yeah, it was a little, yeah, you can call it corny. I mean, it was one of those, hey, we're just trying to pump the team up type of thing and remind them how important this game is. And I am a bit chagrined in the fact that it doesn't seem that rivalries matter as much anymore as they once did, because you have players, just every year it's almost a new slate of players for the most part, team to team, right? So it's tough. It's tough to really have that, for the players at least, to have that real deep-rooted rivalry with a certain team as it would be for the fans. Because the fans have to live through this, right? We've lived through generations of Eagle-Dallas games, at least for me. Some Eagle fans go with the Giants as the main rival. I go with Dallas because that's the team was the first team I started to hate. It's the team I hate the most in all sports. To me, that is the biggest rivalry, but the players don't see that, right? Because obviously, it's different, for them. Some of them aren't on the Eagles for many years or Dallas for many years. They move team to team. They may even go to Dallas or may even go to the Eagles. I mean, so they don't really have that deep-rooted hate, for those teams. And let's face it, most players come to this area, come to the Eagles from various different places around the country, in some cases around the world. So they're not growing up with that Dallas hate. Right? I mean, I guess Corey Clement maybe, and now he's a Cowboy, right? So, because he was from the area. I mean, it's just one of those things. And for me, and I know for Eagles Nation, for Eagle fans, it hurts, man. It hurts losing to that team, particularly the way they got hurt, the way they got beat, rather. The blowout game. But I'm also looking at it as a coach in his third game as an NFL head coach, still a pretty raw young quarterback. Is it overly surprising to me that game happened the way it did? Not really. Dallas is just further along in their system right now than the Eagles are, even though they had injuries coming into the game. A lot of those playmakers that made plays for them on offense have been together for years. The Eagles are still trying to learn what we have. I'm not making it as an excuse. Believe me. I mean, listen, you're in the NFL. You're lining up right with them. This is a game it's a division game. It's early season, but it's a divisional game. It's a game you gotta look. Even if you lose, you gotta look like you showed up to it. And after it was 7-7, the Eagles just never really kind of appeared after that. And it's been made the point of throughout the week, and I made it even last week talking about during the game. I don't understand. I'm not going to say, listen, you have to just run the ball, 3 yards in a cloud of dust type of thing. But it does help, particularly with a young quarterback, if you do establish a running game. The other thing is this team wants to establish the RPO system, right? Well, you can't really establish that if you don't do the R. RPO, right? Run pass option. If you're not running, if you're not handing the ball off to Miles Sanders or Gainwell or whoever's in there, you're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling your opposing defense. They're just looking at you and saying, okay, pass. There's no R. It's just P. This is what it is. They handed the ball off to a running back 3 times last week. 3. I understand it's a passing league. I get that. It's been a passing league now for years. But you're going up against, and they made a big deal about all week, this great Dallas offense. They only scored 20 points against the Chargers, but still, this great Dallas offense. Well, how do you keep a great offense off the field? A, you don't turn the ball over. B, you keep the penalties to a minimum. C, you have balance on your offense. You run the ball. You win the time of clock, the time of possession. That keeps Dak and Zeke and Cooper and Lamb and Jarwin and all those Schultz, all those guys. You're keeping them on the sideline if you're doing that, right? They're not a factor in the game because they can't do anything on defense. So they're just sitting there waiting for their turn to come back onto the field. That's how you control the game. That's how you slow down a top-rated offense. By your offense being on the field scoring points, preferably touchdowns, scoring points, right? Keeping them off the field, keeping your offense on the field, and giving a breather to your defense. Listen, the Eagles defense didn't, look, after the first, they got that takeaway, first takeaway of the season, right, for a touchdown by Fletcher Cox. They also made a goal line stand. But they were on the field for way too long. And it catches up. Listen, to their credit, they made plays early, but it caught up to them the rest of that first half and into the second half. They're on the field way too long. I know they have some Injuries, Brandon Graham obviously out for the season. I mean, look, get well soon, BG, of course. And you know, they do they have the most talent on defense? No. But at the same time, I don't care who you have on defense. If you're on the field for just about the entire first half of the game, you're going to have problems. No defense can hold up to this. Even defense with a rotational schedule, it's going to come back to bite you. And you saw that in that game. And you saw that, you know, in some of those situations with the 49ers, right? They're just on the field way too long. And yes, the penalties is a bit much. This team leads the league in penalties. They're the most penalized team in the league through the first three games. I mean, Derek Barnett is a walking flag. Anytime he comes onto the field, it's like the official just goes for the flag when you see him coming. Oh, okay, we just got to get ready. Yeah, I mean, again, failures to assess talent, and it's costing. It's costing. All right, I know they won a Super Bowl back in 2017. Awesome. We'll always be eternally grateful for that. But still, just assessing talent through drafts. You can't win just by having great offseason, free agency, and trade and what have you. You gotta draft. And the problem with this franchise, it seems, is for a number of years they haven't been able to hit at certain positions. It's like cornerback, safety. They never go after linebacker for whatever reason. And that they really have to address that this offseason. They have a new defensive system, and it just seems, again, we're not going to value the linebacker position, which is a mistake. Defensive line, they seem to be okay with, but as I said, the walking flag and Derek Barnett, that was I'll say that was a first-round bust at this point. I mean, Mike Mamula was able to get to the quarterback more than him. And that says a lot, right? They gave the stat through at this point through their careers who had more. Mike Mamula, who was Mr. Almost there. Mike Mamula back in the day was the guy who would rush and just wouldn't be able to get to the quarterback before the quarterback would throw the ball, right? He came so close to getting sacked, he just couldn't do it. And now Derek Barnett, I don't even know if he even gets that close. To be able to get sacks. Or if he does, there's a penalty. He's a walking, flag. He might as well just wear, have a jersey without a number and just a yellow flag as the number, because that's basically what he does. It's very disappointing. Very disappointing. But the undisciplined play, it does fall back on the coaching staff. Listen, you gotta rein these guys in. This has to stop. Because it's embarrassing at this. It's just like every play, and you see, in the broadcast, they do the little yellow thing when there's a flag, like, okay, Eagles got penalized again. Yep, holding, here it is. Offsides, false start, roughing the passer. Oh, yeah, any flag that we see the little yellow thing, yeah, it's gonna be here's the Eagles again, yeah. And they were saying, yeah, they were penalized last season too. Yeah, I mean, listen, at some point, it doesn't matter the coaching staff. You got to rein this thing in. You got to get control of this. Because, again, that contributes to losses. Look, everyone besides maybe the punter. Punter's been good. The Aussie, right? He's been okay. Eagles have done good at punter over the years for whatever reason. Left tackle and punter. They've got that down to a science. It's like other teams should probably come to the Eagles and say, hey, how do you find your punters? Because every year the Eagles seem to have a good punter and a good left tackle, right? But yeah, it's tough, man. And listen, I said this a week ago. I said this before the season. It's gonna be a rough year. I mean, you can't expect a lot of wins this season. It just is. You have a new, inexperienced head coach and coaching staff, very young, and a young QB, and listen, we see the shortcomings. We do. I want to give it till the rest of the season. I want to see exactly what we have. It's tough to tell right now. It just is. And even as bad as it looked on Monday night, and it looked bad on Monday night, I can't think that that's going to happen every single week. There are anomalies in this game. I mean, you have teams that, look horrendous one week and then the next week they'll look great. And even if they lose, they at least look better than a week before. What I want to see this year is growth. And I want to see growth in that coaching staff, and I want to see growth in the quarterback. And if we don't have that, and if this just continues to happen week after week after week, no matter who they're playing, then then we have to reassess. It's tough, and I know as I said before, this sport more than anything else is the most instant reactionatory sport that you have because the games are so spread out. You can't do this. You can react that night and maybe the next day a bit for like NBA games, NHL games, MLB games, but because at least during the regular season and in the playoffs when it's a series, there's so many games and they're so right up against each other, you just don't have time to digest it all until the season ends, right? But you could do that in football because football, everything is just so spread out where you basically, as I said, you have just about a week to digest what we watched the previous game and what we may see the next game, what we want to see, right? Where adjustments have to be made. How can they, be on the same field with the next opponent who is Kansas City? And it could get ugly. Listen, this game, Kansas City's upset. They've lost 2 straight games, tough games. Lost at home last week to the LA Chargers. By the way, Herbert. Ooh, boy, he looks good, doesn't he? I am so glad the Chargers went back to that old look. Oh, if there was a team in the AFC that I would hitch my wagon to, of course, being Eagles fan, but if there was one team in the AFC that I would, it would be the Chargers. I love their uniforms. And Herbert just looks like he's going to be one of those next great QBs, right? But anyhow, this isn't season of the fan LA Chargers. This is season of the fan Philadelphia Eagles, right? And I'm an Eagle fan through and through. Even though those bandwagon Dallas local fans, after wins, they like to, talk it up. But after losses, they go away. If Carolina wins this game this week, as chesty and talkative as Dallas fans are, local fans were, this previous after they beat whooped up on the Eagles, you won't hear from them. They all go away. If the Panthers win this game, those Dallas fans they just stay, So this is why I don't give them much credit because I know I talk after losses. You see me, Eagle fans. You certainly hear from us after losses. The local Dallas fans, after they lose a game, they tend to kind of go to another sport. It's like, what's LeBron up to these days? Or, the Yankees. It's like, I don't know what it is with, like, the local Dallas fans. And I don't want to make this video about, let me just bash the local Dallas fan. But they just, for whatever reason, most of them, I'm not saying all of them, most of them gravitate towards certain teams. And geographically, it makes no sense. Like, you would think that Dallas and LA are just so close to each other. Proximity, distance-wise. They're right there. Those damn pesky states in between just getting away. But, the Cowboys and the Lakers, there's a real connection to Yankees for some reason. The Yankees in New York, the Cowboys in Dallas, Texas, the Lakers in Los Angeles, California. They're not hockey fans. They don't know what hockey is. And if they were, they might be like Tampa Bay fans, Lightning. One of those that's just always there. They're in Florida. But that's kind of close because Dallas is south, Florida's south. That could be a connection, right? I don't know. Listen, I'm not one of those people that says you just have to like your home team, that wherever you are, that's what it is. You just have to root for them. That's it. I do. But I know it's not for everybody, right? I'm never going to be against, look, if you, like, my good buddy Big Slim is in Maryland. He's a diehard Eagles fan. We're going to the game on Sunday, he and I, right? We'll be at the link for the game. But for some reason, the local Dallas fans, they don't like the Philly teams. Or they might like one or two. And the weird thing is, to me, is sometimes, like, you'll hear a local Dallas fan and they hate the Sixers and they hate the Flyers, but the Phillies, even though the Phillies are like the losingest franchise, maybe in the history of Philly sports, that's the team that they clomp onto for Philadelphia. But the other teams, no, no, no. We got to be Yankee fans or Laker fans or, you know, it's very confusing. But no, they're what are they? They're Cowboy fan, Yankee fan, Laker fan. Like those three always seem to go together with them for whatever reason. They're not close in proximity to any of those teams besides the Yankees. They go to the Yankees, they go to the Lakers, and they go to Dallas. I, it's comical. It really is because it is almost without fail. If you ask them, oh yeah, Yankees, Lakers. Yes, those teams share so much in common. Yeah, I had to say that it is funny, and I know my buddy Nostalgia Boy, he's a Dallas fan, but he's a Cleveland fan, he's a Cavalier fan, he's like the Cavs for many years, so he kind of doesn't fit the norm. So he likes the Yankees, as he has a connection to New York, but he's a Cavs guy. So I'll give him at least that. At least Nostalgia Boy doesn't say he's a Laker fan. Shout out to Nostalgia Boy. But no, no. I just listen. That being said, it was ugly. It was definitely ugly. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And now we move on, though. I mean, look, no matter what the game looked like a week ago, we got to move on, right? And this week we got Kansas City, as I said, an angry Chiefs team. I'm not expecting great things this week, but I certainly want to see them. I certainly want to see them play better. I think they're capable of playing better. I mean, it was disconcerting. It was disheartening watching that game last week because I know, listen, they're not there yet. They're not. And I wasn't expecting playoffs this year. I wasn't really looking at the win-loss record. I just want to see the improvement as the year goes on and see what we have in the coaching staff. And like I said, what we have in this young quarterback. And yeah, I mean the early returns aren't looking that great for the first three games. But you know it is a long season. Right? You play 17. You want to see improvement, and if we don't see it, like I said, at the end of the season, then maybe reassess. Against the Chiefs, listen, even though I'm going to be in the building with Big Slim, and I root for them. I root for them every week. It's tough, man. I mean, look, even in seasons like this, I want to see them win. I want to see them have success. I root for them every week. I watch them every week. And I make videos every week about it, right? So I want to see them have some success, right? But I'm going into this week like most Eagle fans and pretty much penciling in an L. I mean, it's hard enough to play the Chiefs the way they are currently constructed. It's that much more difficult to play them if they're coming off some losses and they're angry. So listen, I mean, this game might not go very well. I mean, it might. Last week's game was embarrassing. I don't think it's going to be the same thing as last week. I really don't. If there's any pride on this team, it won't be. The fact that they are at home, the fans, I could see them hanging. With the Chiefs, but ultimately the Chiefs win the game. The Chiefs are a better team. And I know any given Sunday, the whole cliche, right? You can win, and I get that. We're probably not going to win this game. The Chiefs are just ultimately a more talented, a better team than the Eagles right now. Back-to-back appearances in the Super Bowl. Big Red doing some great things there, right? He's a win away from his 100th win as a head coach of the Chiefs, and he would be a 100-plus game winner with the Eagles when he was here and a 100-plus game winner with Kansas City. That is an incredible career. And I still have a lot of respect for Andy Reid. And listen, it is going to be tough. But I will reiterate, if you want to slow down a great offense, and Kansas City is a great offense, a better offense than Dallas. All right, and Dallas, listen, they have some talent there, but I would still put Kansas City over them. What do you got to do on the Eagles' offense? You got to not turn the ball over. You got to limit the penalties, and you got to have a balanced attack. You got to run the ball. You got to do the thing you just wouldn't do a week ago. Hand the ball. Miles Sanders, I mean, his uniform is probably the most cleanest of any player on the team because they don't run the football. It's unbelievable. And you have a talented running back there. Give him the ball. It's like last week he had one run for 20 yards or whatever that, and then we're gonna forget about him. Who's he? I don't know. I mean he is one of those backs. At times he's very maddening because he'll have like a 2-yard loss because he's dancing around a little bit instead of going right through the hole, right? But he's also one of those running backs, and we've had them over the years. In fact, one of those running backs that we've had over the years is being honored at halftime, just retired as a Philadelphia Eagle, LaShawn McCoy, good old number 25 there, Shady, is going to be honored at halftime of the game. I'll have my Shady jersey on. He was one of those backs that he would dance around and maybe instead of going forward, he would try to go lateral and he would lose some yards. But he was one of those guys, right? Every now and then he would break one. And he was always a threat to break one off and go for a long touchdown, right? And Miles has that ability. We don't know because we don't see him. Very often they get the ball handed off to, right? He's a weapon. Utilize your weapons. I don't know. I mean, it makes sense to me, and I'm Mr. Sports fan here of watching most of the games on this couch that I need a new couch. I'm getting one actually, and later in the month it's on its way. So, but I'm just sitting in front of the TV and I'm yelling, "Run the ball! Why aren't we running the ball? Why aren't we using Miles? Where's Miles? Miles, where are you?" But that's what you got to do against Kansas City, against any team. I don't care how talented they are at offense. Against any team, listen, you got to keep your opposing defense honest. You got to run the ball every now and then. I'm not saying just run the ball, hand the ball off 30 times a game, but I'm saying you need that balance, particularly if you're going to try the RPOs. What defense is going to believe in the RPO if you're not running the ball? Like I said, that's what the R in RPO stands for. Run. If you're not going to do that, they're just going to sit back and say, all right, we'll just rush the quarterback. That's all we got to do. To keep it even remotely close against Kansas City, you have to have a balanced offense because you want to keep Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Kelsey and Travis Kelce and Nico Hardman and all those weapons that they have, Pringle, all those guys. You want to keep them on the sidelines as long as you can, right? Because the more those guys are on the field, the more long a day it's going to be. All right, for us. So you gotta learn from the mistakes. And even as a young coach and a young coaching staff, you gotta learn from the mistakes that you're making and then make those adjustments. And I know there's talk about, Jeffrey Lurie wants them to pass the ball all the time. That's why they're not running. I mean, we're going to reassess that at the end of the season. And if that's indeed true, and there could be some real truth to that, that's a big problem. That's a big problem because when your owner is being too much of a hands-on, hindrance, like good old Jarrah is in Dallas, that's a problem. Listen, there's a reason that team, as talented as they have on the field, that Cowboy team hasn't been to an NFC title game. I always say this to the local fans. Hasn't been to, forget about Super Bowls, hasn't been to an NFC title game since 95, which was also the last time they were in and won a Super Bowl. A large part of that reason is because of the owner, because of how much of a hindrance he is with that team, how much he has to have his hands in everything, right? And if we're having that with Jeffrey Lurie, that's a big problem. That's a big problem because that doesn't work. It doesn't work anywhere. A lot of these teams that win and have consistency of winning have owners that just sit back and let their personnel do its job, and that's what you need. And That's a problem. That's a big problem. But that's a discussion for another day. Listen, I'm going to be there, as I said, with Big Slim. Shout out to Big Slim. We're going to be at the game, on Sunday, tomorrow, against Kansas City. And it's going to be interesting. It's it's definitely going to be interesting. But I look forward to it. I haven't been to an Eagles game in many years. Had the opportunity through a vendor through my job, so shout out to them. Look forward to it. And Slim, actually the last I'm trying to remember the last Eagles game I was at probably was with Slim on the Monday night years ago against the Giants, and the Eagles won that game. They were always good to beat the Giants. Giant fans don't really say much to us because they know. They know what teams own them over the years. I miss Eli. Although Jones, he's fun to play against too. Oh, Eli. Oh, we used to take care of Eli every year. Oh, my goodness. Eli had two logos on his helmet. The Giants and the Eagles logo. He was owned by both. Anyhow, that's going to do it for this portion. I do want to get to the weekly Festive 4. I know we had a bye week with it last week. Apologies again. But going into this week, Festive's record on the season is 5-3. So Festive has a better record than the Eagles right now. But anyhow, so this hot off the presses is this week's Festive 4 against a 4-pack of winners. So if you are one of those that does the betting, I don't. I'm not a bettor. I always tell people I gamble on eBay. That's where I gamble. I don't do any of that online betting or this or that. Again, I waste enough money on my collecting. I don't really need to waste money on betting sports. But if you are one of those who does bet on sports, and there's many different outlets to do that, here's a 4-pack of what Festive feels is going to be winners this week, just straight up winners, and let's get right into it. First of all, sorry, Pistol. Festive believes this is the week that your Raiders take their first loss of the season. Festive likes that Justin Herbert and the Chargers to win against the Vegas Raiders. Even though the Chargers are coming off a big win, an emotional win at Kansas City, and that sometimes can be tough, but Festive still likes to going out on a limb here, picking the Chargers over the Vegas Raiders. Right? Festive also likes Buffalo over Houston, taking a little low-hanging fruit on that one, but Buffalo over Houston. Also likes New Orleans against the Giants. Feels the Giants will continue to do giant things and lose that game. And also in the big game of the week, the game everyone's looking forward to, Tommy's return to Foxborough, right? That's probably why Festive picked the game, because of the name, right? But the GOAT's return to New England, and it's hard to beat the GOAT, right? It is. So Festive likes Tommy to return to New England and get a win against his former team and former coach, of course, the Hoodie. Festive likes the Bucks over the New England Patriots. Sorry to Adam. Sorry to Mac. That's how Festive sees it going down. Tommy returns to New England and gets a win. And so those are the 4-pack of winners. Once again, to repeat, the Chargers over the Vegas Raiders, Buffalo over Houston, New Orleans over the Giants, and the return of the GOAT and his current team against his old team, the Bucks over the Patriots. That's the weekly Festive 4. That's it. That's going to be it for this week's vid. Thanks for watching. As always, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you already haven't done so. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you get notified to all the future content on this channel, whether it's Season of the Fan for the Eagles, whether it's collecting for jerseys and hats. You never know, right? Also, make sure you can find me every now and then on the Views from the Vault channel here on YouTube, of course, with the fellas. And we're going to be doing, at least it's planned, we're going to be doing a live watch, a live look-in watch with us this coming Tuesday night in the AL wildcard, because the fellas, some of those fellas have teams involved. I don't. The Phillies, yet again, said, we're good. We don't need the playoffs. That's 10 straight years, by the way. Second longest streak to Seattle. Looks like Seattle might not make the playoffs again this year too. So they're going to have like a 20, 21 year playoff hiatus, we have a 10-year playoff haze where the Phillies have the dubious honor of having the longest playoff drought of any National League team, and only the Mariners have gone longer without seeing the postseason than the Phillies. That's company right there. Yeah. Although Harper looks like he might win the NL MVP, and that's great. He's had a great year. I know Wheeler's had a fantastic season as well. Probably won't win the NL Cy Young, but he's had a fantastic season. I like Ranger Suarez. I like what he's done. They have some pieces. They got to draft, build the damn minor leagues. Maybe it would be nice if they could find some of that talent from overseas, like some of these other teams do. That would be nice too. But we'll see. Another season almost in the books. I know they got a game today and tomorrow against the Marlins, but whatever. Harper, great season by him. Wheeler, Suarez, nice job. Disappointing though, man. I miss October. I do. I miss October baseball, and I hope to see it again someday. I really. Again, as a partial season ticket holder with the Phillies, I'd love to have a chance to go to some playoff games. It hasn't happened for me yet. I want it to. I really do. But we do have some members in the Views from the Vault group, of course. Pierre with his Red Sox. You got Kyle with his Yankees. Leon with his Blue Jays. So at some point, some way or fashion, two of those guys are going to have a little more interest in the game that goes on next Tuesday night in the AL wild card. We'll see who it is. Is it going to be the Yankees, Red Sox? Which it probably will be, but we'll see. Are the Blue Jays going to sneak in there? Well, who knows? We'll find out, but rest assured, when that game is played next Tuesday night, you can watch us on the Views from the Vault channel here on YouTube, our live looking at the AL wild card. We're doing this for the first time. It's going to be very exciting, very interesting, very entertaining. You don't want to miss me with the fellas there. It should be a lot of fun. And again, as a Phillies fan, I can just kind of sit back and, just relax, feet up, and those guys will be biting nails. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And I love baseball as a whole. I love sports, as we all know. Baseball, I love, and the baseball playoffs is always fantastic theater, even though most years the Phillies aren't in it. But it's still it's just fantastic theater. I love it. You're on the edge by every pitch. It's great, and I look forward to it again. I look forward to it with full fans in the stadiums this year. It's going to be awesome. So join in with us next Tuesday night is at least the plan. The live watch, the live look in as we dissect the AL wildcard game, whether it's Yankees, Red Sox, Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox, whoever. We're going to watch the game. You enjoy it. Join in with us, and it should be a lot of fun. Again, go on to the Views from the Vault YouTube channel. It won't be on my channel. I'll be on with them, but I'll be on their channel. So join us there, and we'll have a lot of fun. All right, everyone. Well, let's go Birds, as I always say. It's might not be a game that goes our way this week against Kansas City, but we'll see. Shout out to Shady McCoy, going to be honored at halftime. Former Great Eagle running back, of course. And he retired officially as a Philadelphia Eagle. Very cool. And going to be good to see Shady there at halftime get a little acknowledgement. So good things there. All right, everyone. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. For Festive, this is Mighty Fan. I'll see you then. All right.